You hear that? You hear that? That's special. There's a lot of lions, tigers, and bears, but there ain't but one Razorback.
McFadden, say goodbye. Darren McFadden, 80 yards, touchdown.
Fly ball, deep left field. Out of here. Madden for maybe the win. Oh, the follow is good. Arkansas in overtime. I think he just made SportsCenter again. Arkansas is in hog heaven. They won the first ever national championship.
All I want you to do tonight is play your best. Don't worry about making a mistake. You can make a mistake, that's fine, as long as you're going 100 miles an hour.
The transfer portal keeps popping, and men's basketball escapes North Little Rock with a win. Welcome into episode 57 of the Woo Pig Weekly Podcast, your home for all Arkansas Razorback sporting news. Episode 57 is brought to you by Homefield, home of premium vintage collegiate apparel. You can use that promo code Variety Sports in all caps to receive 15% off that first order. Go check them out. It might be a little late to get something for Christmas, but New Year's is right around the corner, so you can get you a new Razorback gear for the new year. Go check them out today. They're constantly adding new things. Fantastic gear. Go check them out. We'll just jump right in. Like I said, the portal season's here. It keeps, working its magic, or in other places, it's demise there. But as far as Arkansas's case, the big thing to talk about, we all knew it was coming, happened over the weekend. KJ Jefferson is officially in the portal. Kind of the writing has been on the wall. Everybody's speculating not if, but when he was going to enter the portal. Well, it finally happened Saturday around, noon. He broke his letter of, saying, thanks for all the memories, whatnot. He officially enters the portal. First reactions to KJ entering the portal, we kind of saw it coming. So what do you think?
Yeah, we've talked about it a good bit already, but I mean, it's kind of, it hurts a little bit when it's final, you know what I mean? When it's actually official. And I've loved rooting for KJ. He kind of brought us out of some dark times. This year just kind of did not go how anybody expected, and I hated that for him. But I think it's not going to be a bad thing necessarily for him to maybe go try to get a fresh kind of last season somewhere else, to maybe get him back up, jump started up the draft boards, and maybe have a little bit more successful NFL career than I think he would have if he just went straight to the draft right now. So wish him nothing but the best. I know there's a lot of speculative landing spots for him between Miami, Mississippi State was mentioned. I'm not sure about that one. TCU, and then Central Florida, UCF. TCU one's I think that one just kind of popped up today as a potential landing spot with Chandler Morris, their current quarterback, entering the transfer portal as well. Obviously, Kendall Briles is down there, so that'd be a reuniting of them two down there potentially. So I'll be curious to see where he lands, and I'm going to be rooting for him, kind of no matter where he goes. But I don't know. It's kind of a bittersweet feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, very true. It's like he's done so much for this program, through his years here. And like you said, those landing spots are, interesting. I'm glad to see at least most of those not in the SEC. That way, he doesn't get on any bad terms, I guess, with Arkansas fans of saying, oh, if you go to this place, or then, we're not going to root for you anymore, whatever. But, if I was a betting person, I like that idea of TCU, his final year of eligibility, reuniting with Kendall Briles for one last, go around. And like you said, with Chandler Morris entering the portal, that could be almost a behind the scenes thing of Briles saying, hey, your time's up here. I've got a guy that, knows my system very well, played in it for several years, going to come in, and he could make a difference down there. Who knows? I could also see him headed to UCF with Gus Malzahn. Runs a very similar system as to what Briles ran. Really fits KJ's skill set, if you will. And then Miami is an interesting one just because I've seen they've been in the running for Cam Ward, the transfer quarterback from Washington. It's speculated that he's going to choose between Miami or Florida State. So that could be two interesting visits. But if to me, I got to say my money goes towards TCU. If out of these three schools that he would have to pick from, a lot of people said from, different rumors that, kind of a deal's already done. It's just kind of getting logistics figured out. So we'll see in the next coming week or so how things, fall into place with KJ and where he ends up for his final year of eligibility. Another player for Arkansas that entered the portal is freshman lineman Joey Sua, and he's already made a visit and committed to Arizona State. So following fellow teammate Jordan Crook to Arizona State, he's a guy that Bentonville native, was all Razorback. It was surprising to see him enter the portal, but it's one of those things where with the new regime coming in with Petrino on the offense, kind of, and guys were going after recruits and whatnot. It might have been one of those tough conversations of, hey, we'd love to keep you here, but we've got some other guys coming in. One of those type of conversations more than, hey, I'm just going to leave. We never can know, but that's just what one can kind of speculate.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. It's probably a good thing that nobody knows those officially, those conversations that happen, things of that nature, because I would like to know, just kind of to know where our program stands in relation to some of these players that are wanting to leave versus kind of being asked to leave potentially. I know there's all these speculative stories, that people are thinking we're telling all these players that they got to go. And I'm not sure I believe it for, obviously some of these players that are in the portal, that they're trying to go elsewhere to either win more games, with Poop Paul. I feel like that's 100% his driving motive. Maybe some financial impact there too. I don't know. There's a lot of variables that can go into it, but sometimes it would be kind of nice to have a little bit of like a ledger to know which ones chose to leave and which ones were asked to leave, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But that could probably end badly as far as fans being
ruthless.
ruthless.
That's very true. And so we'll jump on the positive note of guys Arkansas has gotten committed out of the portal. Since we, kind of spoke about this last week, Arkansas has had 5 additions to their transfer portal class, which is, a big gets in just, a week's time. And so when you start breaking this down, the big one is kind of almost has the same vibes as Drew Sanders a few years ago. Is Arkansas landed linebacker Xavier Sorey out of Georgia. He is a former 5-star linebacker that he was ranked a 5-star in the 2021 class, number 2 overall linebacker in that class. Has been at Georgia. Was a redshirt sophomore this year, so he'll be coming in as a redshirt junior. Have a couple seasons left. Can come in. If you just break down kind of what he did this year, looking at his stats, not terrible stats. He on the season played in all 11 games to date. He made 2 starts. He had a team high 6 tackles with 5 solo tackles in a win over UAB. He had a sack for a loss of 2 yards in an SEC win over Auburn, broke up a pass in a win over Kentucky, and then he also had 5 solo tackles in the SEC championship game against Alabama. So, not a ton of playing time, but still a decent amount to, he's a talented guy. Maybe he just needs, like Drew Sanders, a fresh start, somewhere he can come in and show off his talent. And I think that's big for Arkansas where, the linebacker room, it was kind of depleted after, the season, the portal, everything that's happened. But I think you bring him in, pair him with some young guys that you've got coming in, some young guys on the roster. And we still don't know about like a guy like Jaheim Singletary. Does he come back and you compare them two together? It opens up a lot of doors, but, I think that's a big, much needed get for Arkansas.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I was super excited to hear about this. I don't know if it's going to be an exact replication of the Drew Sanders phenomenon that happened. I mean, he came in and it's a miracle what he did with just a little playing time. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping it kind of turns into one of those type of stories where he was good enough to play at Georgia. There was just too many mouths to feed there for him to be on the field for as many snaps as he was hoping for, I think, to really showcase his abilities. I think Arkansas, obviously, being, not a Georgia, we'll give him a lot more time to showcase his talents. And I think if he lives up to any of the hype that's around his name and what he was kind of projected to be able to be, this could be a huge get for us. And the best part about it is he's got multiple years left of eligibility. So if he does turn out to be, kind of another Drew Sanders, he could come back again if we wanted to, if there's a possibility there. So that'd be nice to see. Drew Sanders balled out for us, but only for 1 year. And that sucked and kind of hurt that, like, man, if we could have got him earlier on and just kept him this whole time, what could have been. But I'm really excited about this one. I think that was a big pickup to fill a fairly decent sized hole you lost in Chris Paul. So, the portal gives and the portal taketh away. So you just kind of got to ride the wave there. Everybody wants to panic and freak out when you start seeing names hit the portal. But then look at who we're able to go and get, even after the year that we had. So, everybody needs to simmer it down a little bit as far as some of the panic mode fans out there whenever they see another name hit the portal and things of that nature. There's definitely both sides to it, where you can get a lot of talent out of the portal, and these guys want to come in and win and turn things around. And we talked to Taylor Green, and you could tell he's already really bought into the mentality around the program, kind of the blue collar mentality that the state has. And so that's going to be fun to see how some of these kids can kind of fit into the system here.
Yeah, that's true. And it's like you said, I think these guys just are looking for a chance to get their opportunity. Like you said, and just like kind of like Drew Sanders, there's a lot of, and in Georgia with Xavier, there's a lot of talent there. And so, you're 2-3 deep at every position with, 4 or 5-star guys. It's not that he can't play. It's just there's starters ahead of him that have been there maybe more experienced or kind of have that seniority, if you will. And he's just, he'd rather go play somewhere else right away instead of waiting another year or so. So it's good to see him come in, fill a hole that's much needed. Keep it on the defensive side of the ball. Another guy that Arkansas is bringing in that will fill a hole that is needed by, having a couple guys leave to go pro is defensive back Danico Slaughter from Tennessee. He started for Tennessee last season, played in most of the games last season, totaled 32 total tackles with 26 solo, 6 assisted, 1 pass deflection, 1 sack. So a guy that can contribute and can come in and bring some leadership. He is a senior, so he's been around, been in the SEC for a while. He knows how, the conference works, how the talent level there, so he can come in, fill a couple holes that we're going to need filled. We've got Jalen Braxton returning. He can kind of be a good mentor for him as he's entering his, true sophomore season, played a lot, middle of the season on, and contributed in a big way. So it'll be interesting to see, what he comes in and is able to do. And the big question mark as far as the portal additions, people been wanting, let's see those offensive linemen. Let's see what Pittman and new coach Mateos goes out and gets. Well, over the weekend and today, though, you start to see what's happening there. We already had Keyshawn Blackstock that we talked about a few times already. Well, you got 2 additional players committed over the weekend and today. First one was Fernando Carmona from San Jose State. He's a big time, was a heavy sought after player in the portal, comes in, kind of has the reputation of being tough, hard-nosed lineman. And I think that's what you kind of want to bring in. If I'm being honest, didn't really see anything like that from the line this year as far as, really being aggressive and kind of playing that hard-nosed football. It seemed like they just got pushed around a lot. And so hopefully he can bring in some of that maybe like attitude that can help him get inspired and help, some of these other guys learn from and see what he can do. And then today they added offensive lineman. I think he plays center for Tennessee. Addison Nichols, big time get for Arkansas, another guy that comes in and has starting experience in the SEC. So, a lot of people were like, well, we're bringing in these FCS guys or these other small school guys. Well, here you go. We brought in some SEC talent for you. And, I think that's going to be big time. You got 3 new offensive linemen to pair with some young returning guys that, they're just going to get better with an offseason. I think Patrick Kudus is expected back. Didn't look terrible, but you could tell he was a young guy. And I think these are good additions for Arkansas and hopefully can make a difference next season.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. I'm excited. I know we brought in a couple of tight ends as well. A couple of them are more blocking style tight ends. We know that that's something Petrino likes to do, is run multiple tight end sets out there to kind of have hybrid linemen in a sense. So bringing in a couple extra O linemen, a couple extra tight end, I think that's the markings that they're trying to address some of the issues that we had, frankly. I think there's a couple of ways they're attacking that. Scheming is going to be a big one, I think. But Petrino's scheme is going to be way, way different. I don't know exactly how much we'll run the ball compared to some of the option style stuff we've done in the past. I'm curious to kind of see how we transition into a Petrino offense. But the tight end play is going to have a big role in that. And so combining a couple of tight ends coming in, the ones that we were able to keep with Luke Haas, Ty Washington, and then a few extra O linemen, you got to imagine that some form of blocking capability will be improved from that whole group of guys. So I've got my hopes pretty high. I don't want to be unrealistic, but I think it's not unrealistic to expect at least some improvement compared to last year with how low the bar is set right now. I feel like I know it's kind of maybe a little too harsh on the guys. I know they're out there playing hard, but it just seemed like we just were not physically prepared and not mentally prepared half the time with a lot of the mental errors we made. That's something that's got to get better.
Yeah, that's so true. And then rounding out things, got another player that Arkansas brought in, as we'd mentioned, Cam Little is testing the pro waters. Well, we went out and got a kicker / punter out of Hawaii. Matthew Shipley is coming in to, take on or compete at least for kicking duties next season. It'll be a weird year seeing not a guy named Cam Little kicking field goals and kickoffs and whatnot. So, I think we've got some other talented guys coming in, either with it being young recruiting or whatever it may be. We got some guys on the roster that transferred in last year, I believe. And so it'll be interesting to see how the competition shakes out, who wins that starting kicking job, and who's going to replace, some big shoes to fill with Cam Little, heading on to the pros.
Yeah, that's true. This was a cool pickup. I thought I think he kicked for a 76 or 77% tick on his field goals the last couple of years, something like that at Hawaii. So not horrible at all. I think there's maybe a little bit of room for improvement there, but not bad. Kid's got a leg. So definitely a good thing to go out and get a guy that's got some experience to add a little bit more depth there, just so you're not, just kind of a one dog show or whatever. You don't see a lot of kickers getting hurt, but on the off chance that somebody does, you don't want to be stranded and not have anybody that can go out there and get you a field goal when you need one. So having a little bit of depth there is definitely not a bad thing.
Yeah, if you actually go and look at it, his statistics, his field goal percentage for this past season, 77.8%. He went 14 out of 18 on field goals, hit 3 of 3 from 20 to 29, 6 of 6 from 30 to 39, 2 of 5 from 40 to 49, and 53 of 4 from 50 plus, with the long of being at 51. And then he was 30 of 31 on extra points. So got a good skill set there, good numbers. You got to like those. So, maybe you can come in and replicate those numbers here and kind of no drop off from what we've seen of Cam Little over the past, 2-3 seasons with him being here. And then you jump over to players returning. Not a ton of news there. The only one I think we've got is I saw today, I believe, offensive lineman Terry Wells is going to return for another season at Arkansas. So, got another guy that him and Tykees Crawford are the two offensive linemen that have announced that they will be returning. So you got 2 returners, you got 3 incoming. It'll be interesting to see how things shake out as far as what our starting rotation is going to look like. But, with some young guys, some experience, a good combination there, I think you can't help but it would be weird for me to not see any improvement after how bad we were last year. I feel like, you got a fresh face in Coach Mateos coming in, is familiar with the Arkansas program, been with some other programs where he's helped revitalize the offensive line. And you've got Coach Sam Pittman. I think after the way this year went, I feel like he's going to definitely have a more hands-on approach on the offensive line. If you're a guy like him, that's what you're known for, I feel like that you've got to, because, your reputation precedes you, and you had a terrible offensive line this season. So I feel like that's almost a given that you might see him a little bit more hands-on with the offensive line this next season.
I definitely hope so, in a sense. I've got faith in Mateos for sure. I've heard great things, especially, he's worked with Pittman before. So I think there's hopefully some good chemistry already there between them two to kind of maybe work together with the line in a sense. So I think that might have been a good move. If he is trying to have maybe at least a somewhat more hands-on approach where you're not going to bring in a personality that you clash with as your O-line coach or something of that nature, to where you guys really can work together, get these guys into the mindset, the physical shape, all of those things that you need them to be in to have a successful offensive line next year. I think there's a lot of things that goes into that, and I don't know all of them at all. But I would definitely expect Sam Pittman to have a little bit more impact there than he had last year. And maybe he tried last year and it just didn't mesh right. I don't know. But there's going to have to be some improvement there. I mean, that's just all there is to it.
Yeah, that's true. And then you jump over to players and leaving Arkansas and not for out of transfer reasons. You've got defensive back Al Walcott announced today that he's headed to the NFL draft, testing his waters there. You already know Cam Little. A few more guys are expected. I believe I saw today they're expecting Dwight McGlothern to leave for the NFL draft. As far as that, not many guys leaving that aren't transferring, so that's good to see. And then you talk about recruiting. Arkansas, as much as it sucks, they had a blow today with, number one in-state player, Courtney Crutchfield out of Pine Bluff, announcing that he's committing to Missouri, heading across the border to Missouri. You hate to see guys like that leave the in-state, but at the end of the day, maybe he kind of saw there wasn't going to be as much opportunities that he would like compared to maybe Missouri. Like we said, we've got our 3 starting wide receivers from last season all returning. And plus you got Satania coming back. You've got, 4-star Ashton-Bethel Roman that's committed to Arkansas that, tomorrow is National Signing Day. So most of these guys that are committed, if they're signing early, they'll be signing tomorrow. Starting through, I believe it's end of the week. So guys can go ahead and sign, especially guys that are going to enroll early. But so with guys like that, I'm sure he probably thought, hey, my playing time might be better here at Missouri. But still, at the end of the day, it stings that you lose the top in-state recruit.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We talked a little bit before the show, kind of around the ins and outs as to why he might have made the decision. Obviously, there's the NIL side of it that nobody knows about. That could have a huge factor or not be a huge factor. I don't know. But just from a playing time perspective, with some of the guys that announced they're coming back out of our wide receiver room, with Armstrong, Tesla, a couple guys like that. For example, Satinia's expected to be back. There's rumors that Evan Stewart from A&M might come here. Nothing set there, but there's rumors about that. I mean, it's all a stretch, but you can kind of see maybe a little bit of the writing on the wall that it's going to be maybe a little bit tighter competition to get that starting spot or things of that nature. Whereas at Missouri, yeah, they had Luther Burden. I can't remember if he's going to be eligible to go back to Missouri or not.
I believe he is returning.
I think that's what I'd heard, that there was speculation that he was, but that was their guy. That I think there was definitely opportunities for some other people to kind of to fill some other holes there on their wide receiver room, and kind of play alongside Burden and kind of him probably draw the double covers and you be a lot more open all the time. So there's probably a lot of thought that goes into those types of decisions. And then another, side of it, you go to Missouri for a couple of years, things don't work out. There's always the opportunity to come back to Arkansas if you do want to play for the Hogs. If that was something that you had dreamed about being an in-state kid, very similar to Jacoby Criswell's situation, where obviously he didn't come here as a freshman, didn't see that there was going to be any playing time anytime soon, and comes back when maybe there is a better opportunity for him. So I wish him nothing but the best. It like you said, it just kind of stings a little bit to lose the in-state guys like that. But the way the college football world is this day and age, you're never really losing anybody permanently, officially at least. So I don't know. I just hope he does well. And then if he wants to come back home eventually, more power to him. If not, I hope he does great at Missouri, just not when we play him.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of things to consider that, besides just, oh, he's from Arkansas, so he should come to Arkansas. That's not always the case, especially now the days of NIL. That is probably over as far as guys coming to play to Arkansas because they're home state kids and, they just really want to be a Razorback. I think you're going to see less of that going forward. I mean, you're just going to have a few players that, they're home state kids and they've always dreamed to play for Arkansas and they will. But on the other flip side, this is a great example. If he's a home state kid, was committed to Arkansas for the longest time and then decommitted towards the end of the season and kind of looked elsewhere. But speaking of signing day, tomorrow, big commits and, guys that we know for sure 100% committed to Arkansas. You got Charleston Collins, Crutchfield's cousin. That's defensive lineman, out of Little Rock, Arkansas, Mills High School. He's committed, should be signing tomorrow. We mentioned Ashton-Bethel Roman, another 4-star receiver that's coming in. You got KJ Jackson, another quarterback. It's going to be a little bit weird to see another KJ in the quarterback room, but who knows? Then another decommitment that Arkansas did suffer, unfortunately, was running back Jaden Ball. He decommitted, a couple day or two ago, and that just comes after he had an official visit at Alabama. So, I mean, you put two and two together, it makes a little bit sense there. But then we're rumored to have an official visit from Jamarian Burnett, another running back out of Alabama that I believe just decommitted from Auburn, and is going to take an official visit here in early January. So kind of things are in rotation as far as, getting guys in, looking at guys, it's an interesting thing, and, nothing's solidified to that. Ink is on the paper essentially. And even then it's not even legit. So
Yeah, it's weird.
Until they're on campus, you never know. And so we'll wrap up football news there. We'll keep you updated. Check out our Twitter account. We're keeping you updated with all the news as we get it and what's going on with Arkansas football, the transfer portal commits, whatnot. So check that out and keep up to date with us. And we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Arkansas basketball.
You know what I like? I like to be comfortable. I also love representing my favorite sports teams. And in the Clutch, I am able to have the best of both worlds. In the Clutch Apparel is your one-stop shop for all things sports. They have officially licensed gear from all your favorite teams and players from the NHL, MLB, NFL, and more. They have sports classic tees from yesteryear and beyond. Check out their full website in the link down below. When you enter the promo code Variety Sports, you get 10% off everything site-wide. Feel comfortable with your sports apparel and go over to their website now at intheclutch.com. And don't forget to use our code Variety Sports to get 10% off.
All right, we are back now with Arkansas basketball as the men's and women's team took a little trip down to Central Arkansas to play in North Little Rock Simmons Bank Arena this past Saturday on the 16th, where the women played at noon right before the men, and they got the win 68-54 over Samford. Leading scorers were Samara Spencer with 20, followed by Michaela Daniels with 14 and Miriam Dowda with 11. Leading rebounder Sailor Poffenbarger with 14, Miriam Dowda with 9, and Samara Spencer and Jenna Lawrence with 5 each. In this game, Arkansas shot 37.5% from the field, going 21 of 56, 23.1% from three-point range, going 6 of 26, and 69% from the free throw line, going 20 of 29. So, another win under the belt. I think they're bouncing back from that home loss against UAPB a little bit. Conference play is going to be here before you know it. So it's, we'll have to see what we look like when we hit conference play. We've been able to get some of these wins. We played competitive against UCLA, Florida State. We got the win at Florida State on the road, upset them. They were ranked 15. So it's really going to be interesting to see what happens with this team when they hit conference play.
Yeah, no doubt. I kind of get the vibe with this team almost the same way that I have for the men's team in a sense, especially like the men's team from last year, where there's a little bit of lack of experience in a sense, in the fact that they're going to win some games that they might shouldn't, and then they're going to lose some games that they might shouldn't. You know what I mean? They're going to steal a few here and there just because the talent explodes one night or something like that. But then you might have a night where things kind of go a little bit weird and they let a team stay in and they don't shoot well from three. We know that can kind of be an inhibiting factor on them getting the win and things of that nature. So I think they're going to be kind of a fun team to watch, ride the wave here and there, where they steal a few, but then maybe lose a few against, a UAPB, somebody like that, where you scratch your head afterwards and you're not quite sure exactly what to put your finger on as to why that happened. But all in all, they're going to be a really fun team to watch. They already have been. A little surprising, with the leading scorers in this game, not having a Talia Scott up there in the mentions, but it's great to get a win, especially, for a slightly different crowd in North Little Rock, go down there and be in a, kind of a neutral site, even though it's technically a home game. But it's pretty good experience, I think, for them, and definitely, something you can learn from. Didn't shoot the best, but not horribly either, and played well enough to get a pretty solid win.
Yeah, that's true. I think some of these games you got to look at in the SEC. I mean, you're going to have your South Carolina and LSUs that are going to be tough matchups. But other than that, I don't think some of these other matchups, could be up in the air. You're probably going to win some, you're going to lose some, but hopefully we can be up there and compete maybe for top 3 or 4 in the SEC. You most likely, pending any type of disastrous breakdown, you're going to have South Carolina and LSU up towards the top there. But then after that, there's not really any other teams that just jump off the page at you in the top of the SEC. So, maybe that Coach Neighbors can get this team fired up. And like you said, not in this game so much, but with the talent of Talia Scott, the way she's been playing so far early in this season, I bet she's going to be able to lead Arkansas to a few wins, just by her ability alone. But this team works together. You can, like you said, steal some wins, maybe on the road against, some of the more top tier SEC teams, and, maybe have a shot at, tournament time near the end of the season.
Yep, I couldn't have said it better myself, man.
So we flip over to men's basketball, where, the game didn't necessarily go as one would hoped with the talent on this roster. Seth's already shaking his head. I agree. I think we were both on Saturday about ready to pull our hair out watching this game. They got the win 69-66, but, that score should have been a little bit different, or a lot of bit different, if you will. Leading scorers for Arkansas were Tremont Mark with 17 points, followed by Mekhi Mitchell with 12 and Jalen Graham with 11. So if you guys up there that you aren't normal guys that are our top scorers, you're seeing an absence of Khalif Battle. Don't know really what happened to him. He just wasn't his night. Guys are going to be like that, but it's weird to see as consistent as he's been. Talk about rebounding. Leading rebounders for Arkansas were Trevin Brazil with 6, followed by Mekhi Mitchell with 5, and Layden Blocker and Jeremiah Davenport with 4 each. Shooting-wise, Arkansas didn't shoot the ball terrible at all. 52.6% from the field, going 30-57, 33.3% from 3, going 5-15, and 50% from the free throw line. That sounds bad, but you look at it, Arkansas shot a total of 8 free throws in this game, making 4 of them. So that's one thing, that jumps off the page right there is we barely shot any free throws, and we usually shoot, 20s, close to 30 a game. So either the officiating wasn't what we thought it would be, or we didn't or weren't as aggressive as we needed to be down in the paint and attacking the basket. Maybe a little bit of both. But before we jump into that, really, the big kind of talking point of this game was at one point in the second half, Arkansas had a 20-point lead. Well, Lipscomb went on a 21-2 run in the second half to get that cut down and almost gave Arkansas a scare there. So, looking at that second half almost collapse, if you will, what are your thoughts with this game and kind of how that went?
Dude, I don't know. The first half was to me, it actually kind of felt like normal Arkansas basketball, where we'd hit a shot, they'd go down, hit a shot, we'd hit a shot, then we'd force a turnover and hit another one to go up, 4, maybe 6 points, and then we have a couple possessions kind of in that type of rotation, and boom, we had a 15-point lead or something, and then it very quietly felt like all of a sudden that somebody put a lid on the basket, and everything we put up I think there was like a 6 or 8 minute stretch where we didn't get a field goal. And it doesn't matter who you're playing, how different the talent level is. If you can't hit a shot for 6 or 7 minutes, you're gonna give up a lot of points there, a lot of plus minus, and it just isn't going to go your way most nights. So I think Arkansas is lucky to escape with a win here. But I think most fans that watch this game know, like, this was not a win. Frankly, it's a win on paper, and you take those when you get them. But man, you really look at this game down and dirty. And to your point, we weren't able to get to our free throw line like normal, and I think that would have helped some. Maybe slow the game down in a sense to kind of get us reset. Those are almost free timeouts in a way whenever you get some of those free throws, and I think it threw off our rhythm to a little bit. But at the end of the day, the defense inconsistencies that we've shown this year in comparison to previous Musselman coach teams has been head scratching to me, especially with the talent that some of the players on this team have on the defensive side of the ball. Trevin Brazil is a good defender, especially underneath the rim, very, very much a shot altering kind of guy. He's not a big body to kind of deal with post play specifically, but he definitely alters a lot of shots. Obviously, Mekhi Mitchell is the same way. Jalen Graham, Chandler Lawson's phenomenal defender with his length. But it just seems like we are finding ourselves out of position on rotations way more than I ever would have thought we would with the experience that this team brings in. Yeah, they may not have played together a whole ton, but you got to find a way to get that chemistry quickly. At this point, I feel like we were playing better team defense earlier in the year than we are now, and I don't know. There's nothing I can put my finger on as to why that is. Whether it's too many guys kind of trying to play hero ball or something, I don't know. Or maybe we overlooked Lipscomb. We got up big, and everybody started kind of not giving as much effort. There's a lot of things that could have happened there, but this was, to me, this one's a loss in my book. That's a win on paper, but from a coaching perspective and from the players' practices from here, you've got to almost count this one as a loss and treat it that way, from a mentality that, hey, we've got to improve off of this in a dramatic way.
Yeah, that's so true when you think about it. Like the number of times I watched us get beat off of a screen when they set up a screen, guy pick and rolls off of that, and straight to the bucket. I don't know why we weren't switching, but to your point, this team is really must have Coach Musselman scratching his head about. There's so much talent here, but why are we having these struggles? Hopefully, these are our mid-January slump getting early, and then conference play gets here and we kind of figure it out a little bit more. But we're running out of games to figure that out. We've got, I believe it's 2 more games before Auburn comes to town for a first conference match in January 6th. So, it'll be interesting to see. We go back to the drawing board, what happens. The thing I noticed, in that scoring drought for Arkansas where Lipscomb went on that 21-2 run was the number of shots that were taken by Tremont Mark compared to everybody else. We've mentioned that before on the show. He's an extremely talented player, but it seems at times when he's in the game, he's a little bit selfish with the ball and wants to just, it's almost like a black hole. You pass it to him, it's not coming back out. He's either taking the shot, or he had a few even turnovers, bad passes where he was trying to score, do it himself, and either bad shot, bad turnover, bad pass, something like that happens several times in that stretch. And it just really makes you wonder, why are you not sharing the ball with your teammates when they're very capable of scoring as well? And another thing that had me kind of questioning things were, you had Jalen Graham during that stretch on the bench when he was playing well this game. He was your third leading scorer with 11 points, kind of really finding his rhythm after, being out at the beginning of the season with that back injury. So it's just a few things that were weird, throughout that stretch of where we couldn't buy a basket, if you will. And it makes you wonder what is going on. You saw a complete different lineup start this game. And, that may have been due to playing in Central Arkansas. You want to give these home state kids that are from the area, give them an opportunity to start against a non-conference opponent. You had Joseph Pinion get a start. You saw Jeremiah Davenport start along with Devo Davis and Trevor Brazil. So some guys, good for them. But when you look at it, at the end of the day, there's a lot that needs to be figured out with this team, especially once we hit conference play.
Yeah, the time is getting short. Kind of to your point that we've got to get some things turned around here. They played a good first half, and you've got some things you can kind of go back to there and say, hey, we did some things right, and somehow the switch got flipped and we got overly confident or something. I'm not saying that's 100% what happened. It just kind of felt like it, but at the same time, there was a lot of shots on goal that just didn't go in during that scoring drought either. So you got to find ways to kind of shake things up and get to the line during those situations, and we obviously did not do that in this game. So that's how you fix some of those scoring drought situations: is get to the rim and get to the free throw line, and then kind of snap yourself out of it. And it just didn't happen this game. So a lot of things to take away from it, and then we can sit here and talk to her blue in the face on it. But hopefully, to your point, we're having some of our, what we have classified as the midseason slump that we always get, kind of in conference play. Hopefully we're having that right now and can come out of this stretch, maybe that much better and improve and have learned a lot and actually get on a tear in conference play when it really counts the most. And some of those wins mean a lot more then, and it's really when you're going to need them. So definitely not, giving up on the season, anything by that nature at all. But there's got to be some improvements made fairly quickly if we're going to try to salvage a pretty good seed when it comes to NCAA tournament time and things like that.
Yeah, still a lot of work to do, but I believe in Coach Muss. His track record speaks for itself. I think there's a lot of high expectations with the talent on this team, and Muss is going to work with these guys to get them back where they're needed. But maybe something that can be an energizer for Arkansas is we got the news Friday. Keon Minifield Jr., the point guard transfer from Washington, is now eligible to play, and he actually played on Saturday. All of his paperwork and everything finally got through, and he was eligible to play. And that's big for Arkansas. He was a guy that was extremely sought after when he came in. A very fast, athletic point guard that can really help you increase the tempo of your game. Can really run. In this game, he played 19 minutes, had 3 points, went 1 of 3 from the field, going 0 of 1 from 3-point range. Had 3 rebounds, 2 assists. So as he's working into his rotation, and he's practiced with a team, but game conditioning compared to practice conditioning is 2 different things. So as he gets his feet under him, and it'll be interesting to see how he fits into this rotation. He's a guy I'm excited to see. I liked what I saw from him Saturday. Really get involved, like a small point guard like him. The number of times those 3 rebounds were he worked hard for those. Those weren't just easy rebounds. He got in there and got a rebound on a miss and 2 big assists there. That's big, especially if you look at the statistics. If Arkansas can get over, I believe it's 14 to 15 assists, statistically, Arkansas wins those games. You look at our losses, we have like 10 or less assists. So the key there is we're sharing the ball, and I think that's where, like I mentioned, the Tremont Mark issue really affects that, is he stops sharing the ball, so you're not getting those assists through, which it's interesting statistics and see how those correlates with wins and losses, but it's a thing. And so it'll be interesting to see how Keon Minifield can help that, come in and kind of be an energizer for this team, bring some energy, bring some fast up-tempo play for a team that Arkansas is usually a fast-paced team, but this year hasn't seemed to hit that speed yet. They need to ramp it up a few notches and, get it going.
Yeah, I agree, man. I'm excited to see him play. He's a short little fella, but he can get up and down the court in a hurry. So maybe provide a little bit of a spark for us, and just have that much more added depth for somebody. If somebody's struggling, he can come in and take the reins over and not have a drop off. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and so we'll see as that continues. Arkansas's next game will be against Abilene Christian at 6 p.m. on the 21st. So this week, right before Christmas, final game before Christmas. And, 2 more tune-up games before we get to conference play. Like I said, we have Auburn coming to town January 6th. And so as we jump down here to Arkansas volleyball, unfortunately, we talked about last week, they got knocked out of the NCAA tournament. But, we're already going back to work here as Arkansas got a commitment from North Carolina transfer Romana Thurman. If that name sounds familiar, yes, this is the daughter of the infamous Scotty Thurman that hit the shot against Duke. And she appeared in 24 matches for North Carolina last season, had 175 kills. So good to bring in her, a legacy in a sense, if you will, coming in, her dad, former basketball star here. Great to see that those family ties and her coming back to Arkansas, and hopefully can commit big to be able to contribute big to this volleyball team next season that had a great run this year, and hopefully they can just build off that for next season.
Yeah, no doubt. That's kind of cool to see the home state kind of return, if you will. And I she's going to be a fan favorite just because of who she is in a sense. So definitely going to be kind of a cool thing to see what kind of crowds she's able to kind of draw, even on her own, even if she doesn't play as much as maybe some people expect. I do expect her to contribute quite a bit, but all in all, that's definitely a cool story.
Yeah, that's it. And so we'll see is there. And then as we jump down, that wraps up about everything. We got a few upcoming events, and even with that, and there's not a ton going on. Women's basketball team's on a break for the holidays. You've got men's basketball, like I mentioned, playing at 6 p.m. on Thursday this week, December 21st, against Abilene Christian. And then after Christmas, they'll take the court again on December 30th to play UNC Wilmington at 4 p.m. You will know, you can't overlook a team like UNC Wilmington just because, they went on the road and beat Kentucky in Rupp Arena. So, they're a talented team that can get those wins. So we will really need to be prepared for that. And then conference play is here once we hit the new year. January 6th, Auburn comes to town. Like I said, first conference game of the season. So hopefully we're ready for that. Hopefully the Bud's rocking. So if you got tickets, get out there, be at that game, be loud, support this team. They need it. And so as we wrap up here, don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast on Apple's Podcast and Spotify. Go check out our YouTube, subscribe, drop some comments. Let us know what you want to hear, what you think about the show. Give us your feedback, and we'll keep improving constantly. And so thank you for listening to today's episode of Woo Pig Weekly, and we'll be right back here next week.